Hello again, folks. Skillful Mission here. Welcome back to my channel, and I have another video today for you folks. So I got a pretty important topic today. At least I find this very important. And first off, I want to tell you folks right now that what I'm about to say is I know is going to be in the minds of a lot of Christians controversial, and a lot of you are probably not going to like it. Because a lot of you were brought up a different way. I was brought up, I guess you would say, a certain type of way. What I mean by that is, I know by now if you folks are subscribed to my channel, or if you're new to this channel, let me explain. I like to mix politics into Christianity. I think that is one of the best things we could do with our lives on this earth as Christians. If we're not involved in politics at all, it's pretty pathetic, in my opinion, I guess you would say, if we're not involved in that. And I also want to say this is going to be the start of a new playlist series, I guess you would say. I'm going to be making tons of videos where I talk about Christianity and politics and how these two need to be intertwined together. And besides, that's the whole point of my channel. And by the looks of the amount of subscribers I've gotten so far this year, I can tell that's what you folks like to watch, and I can tell a lot of you agree with me. So I just want to thank you so much for that. Well, like I said, what I'm about to say is going to be controversial to a lot of Christians. There is no doubt about that. I know some of them are going to get upset and hurt, and right off the bat, look, I'm not out here to try and offend anybody or attack anybody specifically, but really I'm just talking about in general, us true Bible-believing Christians. We really need to take to heart and really understand, really the situation we're in right now. And also, I apologize, I'm in my car right now, but I just want to do this video right now. But yes, I feel like a lot of Christians don't really fully comprehend the situation we are in, not just in our country right now, but in the world right now. But specifically, I'm going to talk about America, since it is the greatest country on earth, and I'm sure the majority of you that are watching this video live in this country. So without further ado, I'm just going to get right into it right now. And remember, this is probably going to be controversial to a lot of Christians, and if I offend you, I'm sorry, but this is the cold-hearted truth, and on my channel I do my best to say nothing but it. So what I'm prepared to say is, it would seem that a majority of Christians nowadays are stuck in the mindset that we are to only preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that's it, nothing else. Christians have the false, I don't know if I would really call it false, but they got the mindset that is our only thing we're supposed to talk about as a Christian, and that is our only job to do on this earth. But I'm here to tell you folks that I disagree with it, and really, if you think about it truthfully, it's not the right thing either. If you also really think about it, folks, whether you care about politics or not, and whether you're in the United States or not, politics really truly does affect our everyday lives and how we live. If you think about it for a minute, folks. I want to play this video. I think this guy's a pastor. I don't remember quite honestly if he's a pastor or not, but what he says is really profound, and it's really something every Christian really needs to understand. Because if we don't understand this, then our country is going to fall, and our very way of life as Christians that we love so much and quite honestly sometimes take for granted, we could see all that disappearing real soon. So I want to play this clip for you folks. It's only a minute, and I hope you can hear it well, and I hope you can see it well too.
There is not one square inch of all creation over which Jesus Christ, who is sovereign, does not say, mine. And that includes politics. You can't escape God because I'm just going to preach the gospel. What kind of thin-lipped gospel are you going to preach if you don't stand up for truth? Is it a gospel? What is it that you're preaching? If you don't stand up for God's view of sexuality, if you don't stand up for God's view of everything, of slavery, of demonizing Jews in Germany, racism, if you don't have God's view and you don't preach God's view and live out God's view, what kind of gospel are you going to preach to who? A But we're hearing a lot of that these days. And I remember before I was born again, I knew about Dr. Falwell. I thought he's the guy that mixed together politics and faith. Why? Well, because everything is supposed to be mixed together with faith. There is no part of creation we're not supposed to mix in with our faith. If your faith is religious, you have no faith. So the Lord calls us to do that in every way.
You know, it's very short. It's only 1 minute, folks, but what this guy says is so true, folks. Thin-lipped gospel. I know some of you are probably offended by that right now, but honestly, folks, he speaks the truth. We cannot, as Christians, and let me just say first off that preaching and sharing the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, I am not against that at all. Like, the more we do that, you know, the better. The more people we can lead to Christ, great. But we cannot just single-handedly preach about the gospel of Jesus Christ constantly. If that were the case, the Bible would be a much thinner and shorter book. If all God wanted us to talk about was salvation and the gospel of Jesus Christ. Another thing this guy says that's pretty profound in my opinion is it seems that Christians nowadays, we seem to pick and choose what we want to talk about when it comes to talking about certain things. For most Christians nowadays, we just want to talk about the gospel of Jesus Christ, but we can't do that, folks. We cannot separate certain topics and not talk about them. We need to talk about everything. Really, if we're only going to talk about one certain subject, it's kind of bland, folks. I know. It sounds mean of me to say that, but it's the honest truth, folks. There's a lot more things we can talk about in this life, especially as Christians, than just the gospel of Jesus Christ. There's a lot more problems in our lives right now, in this world, and in our country, frankly, that need our attention to fix. Starting with the basics, abortion. You know, why aren't we fighting to preserve the life of the unborn, the lives of the unborn? Next thing is homosexuality. See, like I said in previous videos, and like I said at the beginning of this video, politics really affects our way of life in every form and aspect. If just think about that for a second, folks, really, it does. There's this guy, Frank Turek, I believe his name is. Whenever a Christian comes up to him and says, why should Christians be involved in politics, or why should Christianity and politics go together, he always shows the example of the Korean Peninsula and how politics affects the two nations, North and South Korea. North Korea is a concentration camp. It's a communist country. They don't tolerate Christianity. They don't tolerate the church. They don't tolerate the Bible. And therefore, it's a terrible, miserable place to live. South Korea, on the other hand, it's a pretty one of the fastest growing Christian nations on earth. And, you know, they have freedom of religion, freedom of speech. They have a lot of freedom there. They have freedom to worship God and share the gospel of Jesus Christ there. See, that's why politics is so important with Christianity. Without being involved in politics, or without politics, we wouldn't have the privilege right now to really do what we do as Christians in this nation. We wouldn't have the privilege to meet in a church building. Our pastor probably wouldn't have the right to say what they want, especially if it's from God's word. They'd need to get permission from the government, or otherwise they would be locked up right now. So a lot of countries don't have the privilege to go door to door in soul winning right now, folks. A lot of countries, I wouldn't have the right to do this right now, to talk about what I'm talking about right now. So whether you like politics or not, or whether you agree with getting involved in politics or not, politics really does affect our daily lives. And as Christians, we need to acknowledge that politics is very important, and that Christianity and politics are to be intertwined, because both of those affect our lives here on this earth. Our Christian life, you know, is all about our eternity. Like when we die, when we go on, when we're saved, we go to heaven. Politics keeps us busy here on earth. Both of those combined, it's beauty. It's like salt and pepper, folks. They cannot be separated. They need to be together. So that's what I wanted to share with you folks right now. That, you know, Christianity and politics, you know, they need to go together. And another thing, we cannot separate certain topics when we're talking about the Bible. You know, Jesus debated the politicians all the time. So why can't we tackle politics today to make and keep our lives safe and secure and as peaceful as possible, why don't we want to talk about the very thing that keeps our very lives the way it is right now? It's really amazing to me, folks. And like I said, we cannot separate certain topics from Christianity and just talk about one certain thing. I mean, I'm talking about the gospel. We cannot just keep constantly talking about that. Sometimes we need to talk about other things that involve our life. Because if we don't do that, how are we going to turn this country apart? It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be that easy, but, you know, one thing that would make it easier is if we actually start talking about politics, because that is the very thing that controls our very lives in this country right now.